Okay, there's only so far I can go for Kazuki. There's only so far I could stretch my patience with this lady. In the last episode, I was really kind of hinting on this idea that, yes, it seems like she does terrible things, but I think deep down she's doing it for a good reason. And yes, while it still carries over into episode 18 of Muv Luv Alternative, I don't know, I can't, like, this chick is crazy and she's mean, and yes, as we find out in this episode, yes, she technically did everything that led up to Jinguji dying. That's like my limit. I've reached my limit. I don't care no more. I don't care anymore. But no, lot to go with this episode. This episode felt like half information dump and half just crazy Sumika moments. And with her lack of being stable was just very unsettling. But yeah, let's get into it. So yes, opening up this episode, quite the information dump with pretty much Kozuki laying down everything around Alternative 4, at least all that we know for now. There could be more to it, but yes, this idea that, yes, they went to Yokohama Hive, they captured it in 1999, and there they found the one and only ever surviving human from a beta attack, which was this brain. I still recall way back there to, what was it, like the second episode or something like that? What is that? It's brains! The English that they have with that episode. But yes, they discovered this brain, and yes, it's the brain of Sumika, and they brought it back here, put it inside of a test tube, and have been trying to make it usable. Because their problem they're running into is that even though they had this brain that survived the beta attack, and yes, it can technically translate for the beta, who only see humans as non-living things, with this desire to communicate to them, and somehow this was their method. But without just using computers that would do terrible translations, they had to give her an actual form, a stable human form that could then translate for them. And that turned into them pretty much having to recreate Sumika. And this has apparently been everything that Shirogane has been doing this whole time, is for them to form a perfect copies in a sense, because it can't be a half copy or anything like that. I didn't really understand too much. There's a couple parts of this episode that I didn't really understand too much. One being around what was the purpose of the information that Shirogane was getting. They keep hitting on this idea that, yes, they were trying to get data from the Shirogane and Sumika of that world, and yes, that Kasumi was looking into their minds and reading about their experiences and stuff, but it's not necessarily something that could form a Sumika of this world. They're almost like trying to piece together her over this world by using data from that world, but that's not her. They're two different beings. And yes, obviously the big indicator here is that seemingly in this world, Shirogane's dead. But that was their goal. They wanted to form a complete Sumika, and him being there is the way to sort of stabilize her. And that's what we're getting a sense of in this episode, is to try to fix her from just being this soulless doll and complete her, so that then they can then use her. So it looks like most of my theories around this whole situation seem to be true. That Sumika was the brain, that she was always present, and that, again, it still hasn't got into my theories on her sort of keeping Shirogane alive. I guess to add on to that theory that I had previously, it sort of indicates this idea that not only was she the thing that was causing for almost a reverse casualty thing like he was doing in the other world, but additionally, because he was gone in this world, it almost seems as if she pulled her from the other world. Now, here's where I'm starting to get really deep in the weeds in trying to fully understand things before probably they're going to explain it, is the idea that if the Shirogane in this world is gone, and the Shirogane is still in that other world, and he only replaces him whenever he goes back to that world, that means that other world, it's hard for me to believe that that person in the other world is sort of a remnant of him, but more, it feels like he's more of the actual one that should be there. I guess to explain myself is that in this world, Shirogane's dead, or at least that's what they're implying. But he believes he's from this other world. But whenever he goes to that other world, he's replacing somebody. So it almost makes me feel like there's a possibility here that the Shirogane that we're watching is sort of a recreation of this world with memories of another world. I had this feeling like towards the later part of this episode where Sumika's saying, please don't leave me. He's like, I won't leave you ever again. I'm thinking to myself, but you're gonna leave. It's like he's giving these false promises. But it's almost like this idea that I wonder if there's going to come a point where he realizes, no, this is where I exist. This is my world. I think I'm from this world, but I'm actually this world. But there was another thing that was sort of kind of tickling at my mind, the idea that whenever Sumika first seen Shirogane, she immediately says, okay, I want to kill Beta, and I want to kill you. She specifically said that she wanted to kill Shirogane. Doesn't make any sense unless in her memories of when they were attacked, he was suffering and she wanted to end him, but it sort of made me believe that the triggering that he's giving of her, that's making her these mixed feelings, it's because she sees that Shirogane is a beta. There's my crazy theory. Shirogane, as he is now, is actually some sort of being from the beta. I know, crazy, stupid theory, but we'll see. It could come true. No comments. No comments. It just seemed weird that she said specifically, I need to kill you. I need to kill all the beta. I need to kill you. It did. That seemed like that line stood out so terribly. But it would make sense in the idea of my previous theory and the idea that there's somebody over in this other world and he's sort of replacing him whenever he goes there. It sort of makes me believe that he's actually supposed to be over here and that, again, he was a recreation of something here. Because, again, they've already indicated several times that he's supposed to be dead. But yeah, he's here. And yes, he could have been dragged here from the other world because of Sumika, but I want to think it's more probably an idea that he was recreated in this world and pulled the memories from the other world because he no longer existed in this world. Anyways, crazy stuff aside, yeah, that eventually leads into talking about pretty much everything that's kind of laid out to this point where Kozuki decides to tell him, oh yeah, you guys need to shape up because you're doing pretty darn terrible. And he's like, what do you mean? Yeah, that last training session you guys did really bad. He's like, well, we're tightening things up. We're doing really good. And she's like, yeah, I'm really glad that I pulled the strings that I did to get those beta, basically. She's pretty much laid out that she had them when they went to that front line where Shirogane told them they were fighting from. She had them capture beta and bring them so that they can then release them in this training zone to see how well they would do. What? What? Like, it's sort of there's multiple parts why this frustrates me. One, that she'd be willing to do that, which I think is absolutely stupid. Two, it makes me not like Kozuki even worse because she's literally getting people killed. And yes, I understand the idea that she's doing it to prepare themselves. She's doing the dirty work to push them. But additionally, it sort of goes in that realm of like, it's a little too keikaku. It's a little too all according to plan. This idea that she did that and it all worked out for her benefit when it could have totally gone absolutely south and gotten everybody killed. And then the entire plan would have been ruined. You can go into the whole mindset that, well, Kozuki is super smart and she planned it all out and she knew what would happen. But again, they're making me really stretch way too thin with Kozuki. They're really making me stretch to the point where I don't like her in the show anymore. Like, I'm starting to not like this character existing in the story. Sorry to all the Kozuki fans out there. Sorry, but they're really pushing me to really stretch my, I don't want to say suspension of disbelief, just my willingness to really get her as a character. But yeah, that leads to her going, well, if you don't like what I'm doing, here's the gun. And then he doesn't do it because it seems to imply here that Shirogane accepts his own responsibilities. Like the idea that he came here and he was helping Kozuki, so he's going to see it to the end. Like he says, yes, I hate every time I learn something that you do, but at the same time, I chose to assist you in this, and so I'm going to see it through the end. Which is pretty much in the end of this whole discussion, exactly what Kozuki wants. She's like, okay, finally, I think I can finally rely on you. Well, she doesn't say that to him, but she says it under her breath. But it seems to go into the idea that Shirogane believes that, yes, coming here, he thought he was alone. That Sumika was not here, but then he realized at some point, yes, she's finally here. And yes, while she's not alive, and this is an artificial Sumika, he's at least happy that she's no longer in there without pain and sensation. She finally has a form and she's complete. Which is kind of weird because at some point he did state that, oh, so Sumika's death is our fault. I didn't quite understand that statement, other than the idea that he felt like him being there caused her death in some way. I didn't really get that whole reasoning there. Yes, I can understand him saying, oh, so it's our fault that Jinguji's dead, but I don't know why he says specifically Sumika. I don't remember in the past episode that implied that he was around 1999 and pushed them to have her get killed. I haven't seen that connection. So I guess here's a call out to the visual novel fans out there. If you think it's going to explain it eventually why he says that, don't say anything. But if this is just a weird statement that's better said in the visual novel, you can explain it. But I don't get why he's saying that it's their fault that Sumika's dead. It technically should be the beta's fault that she's dead. And it bothers me more because I think later on they say something to the same effect later. Yeah, this leads to pretty much him trying to make a connection to Sumika. She keeps freaking out. She keeps talking about killing the beta. Again, emphasizing the idea that he should be dead and that she witnessed his death. So it does imply here that Sumika and the Shirogane of this world, if it's somebody else, did get attacked by Beta at some point. And that eventually leads to him talking to Kazumi. Kazumi recommends the idea of, telling her about the memories of their past, which again is the whole concept of him telling about memories over here, which doesn't make any sense to this world. Which again, that doesn't make any sense because she's talking about applying knowledge of this other world to the Beta world, and again, that's where it's a little bit foggy for me. Again, unless they were taking memories from that other world in order to fill in the empty gaps of this world. I guess that's the only way that makes sense to me. But yes, it leads to him making a present and then taking Sumika out and giving her the present and then them enjoying some nice little peaceful time together before she starts flipping out again. Absolutely flipping out every 2 seconds. It's like, girl, chill. She's just so... They have Sumika so mixed up right now, it's not even funny. But it seems to be implying the idea that whenever she believes that the two of them are together and they're safe, she's calm. But then it always seems to be derailed every 2 seconds, the idea that she remembers either his death or remembers what the beta did, and then she freaks out again and wants to... Her sole purpose is she wants to get revenge. But yeah, overall, crazy episode. Way too much to think about, and it's like some of my theories are becoming true. Some of them are kind of getting sidestepped, but in the center is like all this, because these are coming true, it's getting muddied in the middle here. And again, so far it's been doing a really good job of explaining a lot of stuff and filling in those gaps that I personally have with the story and my theories, but at the same time, it's getting super muddy right now. And I think that a lot of that has to do with, yes, are they taking memories from the other world and putting them into the gaps that Sumika of this world has? Why would they believe that his interactions with her with the memories of the other world have anything to do with this world? And again, I still at the very tip, I don't really fully understand the alternative 4. They said they wanted to use Sumika because she's the only surviving person that was taken by the beta, and thus they believe that she can communicate to them, but they need some way of translating it. And again, it goes back to the idea of what is that purpose going to be in the end. They have apparently this entire unit that Shirogane is a part of is going to be protecting her. And so it makes me believe they're going to send her out there with them, and then she's going to communicate to them at that point, or at least communicate or translate what the beta are saying. Maybe their calls, if they do communicate to each other as a hive, maybe she can see what they're saying they need to do, and they can counter that. Or again, if the desire still is in the end to communicate to them, stop trying to kill us kind of thing. I don't think that's going to change though. I don't think that's going to be the end game. Anyways, that's my thoughts on episode 18. Hopefully this wasn't a jumbled mess of an explanation of myself and what I think is going on. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video as always. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already so you can get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody it does. Also, there's a link down there in the description for our Discord, which we have a great community of people there, including a channel for Muv Luv, which has quite a few people in there. They're super Muv Luv fans, and I really do love talking to them. Additionally, we are holding our nominations for the best of the year for anime, so if you want to be a part of the Otaku Spirit community as we do our picks for the best of each season and whatnot that we can handle now, definitely jump in there and give your picks. But I thank you all for watching, and y'all take care.